Hello everybody. Today I'll show you the skeletal muscles of the body. You know that the skeletal muscles are attached to the skeleton and help to move the body parts or bones at the joints. So first we'll talk about the muscles of the head. Then we'll talk about the neck muscles. Then we'll talk about the muscles of the trunk of the body, and then we'll talk about the muscles of the upper limb. And in next lecture or demonstration, I will show you the muscles of the leg. So first let's see the muscles of the head. So this is a small man. So if you see the head, some muscles are attached to the cranial bones and some muscles are attached to the facial bones. So craniofacial muscles. First, you see this muscle, part of it is attached to the frontal bone and the back part is attached to the occipital bone. So it starts here in the back and goes all the way to the front and gets attached to the frontal bone. So this muscle is called the occipitofrontalis and it has two bellies. This is the occipital belly or occipitalis, and this is the frontal belly or frontalis, and those two bellies or parts of occipitofrontalis are connected by this white connective tissue sheet that is called the galla aponeuretica or epicranial aponeurosis. So that is one muscle, occipitofrontalis. Then on the temporal bone you have temporalis. So in the temporalis, this is another temporalis. Okay, so in both sides you have temporalis muscles. Then in the face there are a number of muscles. Let's see the face muscles in another model, the half head model. So this is a half head model where you can see the facial muscles more clearly. So let's go back to the occipitofrontalis muscle again. So this is the back part of the occipitofrontalis, that is the occipital belly, and this is the front belly of occipitofrontalis, and this white sheet is the epicranial aponeurosis or galla aponeuretica. This muscle helps to move the scalp anterior-posteriorly. So you can move your scalp slightly forward and backward. Also it helps to lift the forehead, skin of your forehead, or squeeze the skin of your forehead. Okay, and temporalis muscle attached to the temporal bone. And then we'll see the muscles of the face. Around the eye you have a circular or round muscle that is called orbicularis oculi. Oculi means eye and orbicularis means circle or round, orbit, that circles around. So orbicularis oculi. So you have two orbicularis oculi around your two eyes. And then there is another round muscle around the oral cavity or mouth. And this one is called the orbicularis oris. Oris came from oral, mouth. So this is also another round muscle. So two round muscles around the eye, orbicularis oculi, and one round muscle around the mouth, that is orbicularis oris. Orbicularis oris is also known as kissing muscle. Then you have two muscles get attached to the zygomatic bone or cheekbone. One is slightly bigger than the other. So you see here, this is the bigger one. This is called the zygomaticus major, and this smaller one is called the zygomaticus minor. Okay, so both are attached to the zygomatic bone. Then under the zygomaticus you have a pretty big muscle that is called buccinator or buccinator, and this muscle helps you whistling. So this is called the whistling muscle. Then you have nasalis beside the nose. Okay, so nasalis, and this is the strongest muscle of the face. This is called the masseter. It came from the word mastication. You know, mastication is chewing the food. So masseter is the main muscle of mastication. Okay, strong bite or chewing the food. If you clench your teeth, you can feel with your hand that muscle gets very hard, strong. Okay, so let's quickly review those few first. Orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oris, zygomaticus major, zygomaticus minor, nasalis, buccinator or buccinator, it's a deep one, and this is the masseter, strongest muscle of the face. Okay, now we'll see few muscles above and below the mouth. Okay, so let's start from the middle of the mandible here, middle of your chin. You know, chin area is called mental area, right? So this muscle is called the mentalis muscle. Okay, so mentalis in mental area or chin. Then next to the mentalis is this one below the lower lip, and this one is called depressor labii inferioris. Why it is called depressor? Because when this muscle contracts, it depresses the lower lip or moves the lower lip down. That's why it is called what? Depressor. Labii means lip, inferioris, it is under the lip, below the lip. That's why inferioris. Makes sense, right? So depressor labii or labii inferioris. Then you have this muscle it is attached to the angle of the mouth and it is going downwards. That's why it is called depressor anguli oris. Oris means mouth, of the mouth. Okay, and then you see this muscle going straight laterally. This is called risorius. Riso means smile, fake smile. So this muscle, when it contracts, it pulls the mouth from the side, so the mouth will be widened sideways. There is another one on the opposite side, so when both of these risorius contract, the mouth gets wider or open more this way. Okay, that's why this is called the smile muscle. So let's quickly review. This is mentalis. If we go from medial to lateral like this, clockwise, mentalis, then depressor labii inferioris, depressor anguli oris, risorius. And then if you go up, you see this is zygomaticus major. We have already talked about this. Zygomaticus minor, right? And this one is above the upper lip. And when this one contracts, it is actually attached to the upper lip. So when this one contracts, it pulls the lip above, upwards. So that's why this is called levator, labii superioris. Makes sense? This is depressor labii inferioris, because inferioris means below the lip, labii lip, and it will depress the lip, move downwards. And this one will do just opposite. Levator means lifting, elevating. So levator labii superioris, above the lip, okay, upwards. So those are the muscles of your face. Now we'll see the muscles of the neck. There is a thin flat muscle that covers the whole anterior of your neck. It is not shown here because it has been removed. That is called platysma, like this, a thin sheet of muscle. Now if you remove the platysma, under the chin you have the digestic muscle, and then here in the front of your neck, under the platysma, that thin sheet, you have hyoid muscles. Those muscles end with hyoid because this bone is called the hyoid bone here. Since those muscles get attached to the hyoid, they end, the names end with hyoid. So you have three here. If you see carefully, you have three muscles here, the front of the neck, okay, omohyoid, sternohyoid, thyrohyoid, all get attached to the hyoid bone. That's why they are named after this bone: omohyoid, sternohyoid, thyrohyoid. Okay, so those are anterior neck muscles. Platysma is the superficial one that covers the other deep muscles, and then you have three hyoid and digestic here under the chin. Then this is a large muscle called the sternocleidomastoid. Why this is called the sternocleidomastoid? This muscle has three attachments. Lower ends, there are two lower ends. One is attached to the sternum, another is attached to the clavicle. Cleido is clavicle. So sternocleido and upper end attached to the mastoid process of the temporal bone. So since it has three attachments, two at the lower ends and one at the upper end, so sternocleidomastoid muscle, this one, okay. And then behind the sternocleidomastoid you have three scalenus muscle: scalenus anterior, scalenus middle, and scalenus posterior, or you can say anterior scalenus, middle scalenus, posterior scalenus. So three scalenus muscles. Okay, so let's quickly go over. So there is a thin flat muscle that covers the anterior neck, that is not shown here, that is called the platysma. And if you remove the platysma, there are three muscles here: omohyoid, sternohyoid, and thyrohyoid, named after the attachment with this bone, hyoid. And then under the chin you have digastric, and this big muscle is the sternocleidomastoid, and you have three scalenus: scalenus anterior or anterior scalenus, middle scalenus, posterior scalenus. In the back, this is the upper end of a large muscle that comes from the back of the trunk and ends here, upper end, and that is called the trapezius. Okay, so upper end of trapezius is here. And under this trapezius, if you remove the trapezius or dissect the trapezius, under the trapezius you have the posterior neck, other posterior neck muscles, and those are named as splenus. So splenus muscles are the posterior neck muscles. Okay, so those are the muscles you can see in this model, half-head model. And next we'll talk about the muscles of the trunk.